Welcome to a new episode of Unique Pathways presented by H3 Sports. I am once again your host, Ben Rekosh, and today we have a great episode, great conversation in person with the head coach of Virginia Commonwealth University Baseball, Sean Thompson. He epitomizes what we talk about on this show in his sort of unique style of how he got to where he is, the youngest head coach in Division I baseball at the moment. He always knew, as he talked about in this interview, that he wanted to get into coaching. Just happened a lot sooner than he thought it would. So really hope you enjoy this conversation. I had a lot of fun sitting down with Coach Thompson and talking with him about his journey from being a player, a student athlete at VCU, to being an assistant coach around the country, and then taking the head coaching job at his alma mater this past summer. Really hope you enjoy it, and without further ado, let's get to my conversation with Sean Thompson.
Unique Pathways is sponsored by Piedmont Realty Holdings, building better together. Bellaterra Landscaping and Hardscaping Services. ECS Prosthetics, we come to you. Jeff Burton Consulting, charting your path to a successful outcome. Major League Mindset, results on and off the field. Blue Sky Property Management, own your experience. BSN Sports, the heart of the game.
Today we have a very special guest joining the show. It is VCU baseball head coach, pitcher at VCU from 2015 to 2018. Coach Sean Thompson. Coach, I want to start here before we get into this. VCU baseball has long been a supporter of H3's mission, and committed to serving student athletes from a variety of backgrounds. How do you and your program kind of take it as a responsibility to look out for people of various socioeconomic means?
Yeah, first off, Ben, thank you for having me. And, I think it's part of the culture here in Richmond, and obviously, the University of VCU is, continuing to do more and continue to create as a diverse, community that we could possibly have here at VCU. And that's something that we take a huge precedent in being baseball coaches here. And, it starts in the recruiting process for us, continue to, attract local talent, but also nationally, and get kids from different backgrounds, not just the same kid over and over again. It's something that we prioritize in the recruiting process. If you look at our roster, it's extremely diverse. We have kids from all over the country, different backgrounds, different upbringings, and I think it creates a really special locker room. And for us coaches, it gives us the chance to impact more people from around the country.
And speaking of H3's sort of mission as creating equitability within baseball and using baseball as a means to create better people, how do you and your program kind of see that come true?
Yeah, I think it starts with what you're doing within your locker room. And our job is to produce, kids that come to us 17, 18 years old. Obviously the transfer portal's gotten a little bit older, but be a part of their life in some of the most transformable, and informative years that they're going to have, that's going to produce them to get them to be great husbands, to get them to become great members of society, and, ultimately through the sport of baseball. And I think that's our job as coaches, is to always look at the bigger picture. It's not just about the game. It's about what we're teaching them, life lessons, that are going to be, both applicable on the field and off the field.
I want to talk a little bit about your playing days before we get into coaching. All A-10 rookie team pitched 5 1/3 innings in the biggest win in program history, that 2015 NCAA regional.
Yep.
27-10 record, which is the second most victories ever by a VCU pitcher. 3.30 ERA, 300 innings pitched. What do you remember most prominently from your time in the black and gold?
Yeah, it's funny. You read off a bunch of those, and I don't really remember a lot of those moments. It's always the moments with the guys that you remember behind the scenes, the bus rides, the traveling, obviously sharing the great experiences. But, obviously, so some pretty cool moments. The 2015 is very special to me, and, getting to do it with a teammate now, coaching-wise, with Coach Howie being our pitching coach here, is something that, it's really special being able to reflect back and look on that. And, we're actually the 10-year anniversary of that team, and so many great experiences surrounded by, some people that are just lifelong friends, and that it's very special to me to continue to build those relationships and have those, but see everybody later on in life now. But I can't thank VCU enough for what it did for me as a player, and then obviously getting the opportunity to coach here now is just a lifelong dream.
Because you were such an integral part of that 2015 team, how do you kind of use that as both a tool and motivation to help bring this team back to where it could be?
Yeah, I think it's a starting point to, being there where, our goal as coaches, we want to get there every single year, but having done that as a player, and then also have another staff member that did it as well. I think it continues to prove that it can be done. It can be done every single year. I think during that year, I don't think there's people on the team that would say, I don't know if we were going to get to that point. But showing how quick it can flip and change and showing, that it takes a special group of people to get to that point. And it takes a process. And looking back on that season as a whole, and being able to reflect now as a coach on it, I think it's so many life lessons and team lessons that that were small but were very integral in getting us to that point. And I think that's, as a coach, when you have that foundation of being there and getting to compete at that type of level, it gives us obviously an inside look on what it's going to take to on the coaching side and how to get our guys to that point.
I read all of those numbers. I missed the 249 strikeouts for your career too, but between having the second most victories by a VCU pitcher, that great ERA, 300 innings pitched, is there a number you're most proud of?
The wins. The wins for sure. That was the only thing I really cared about. Baseball's kind of evolved and changed a little bit, since I was playing, and obviously the strikeouts have gotten higher and higher if you look around college baseball. And I always put a precedent on wins. It's still the stat that bugs me the most because I got hurt my sophomore year. I really wanted a chance to be number one on that one because I felt like if you're out there and the team's winning, obviously they're playing behind you. And, I think as a pitcher, when the team plays well behind you, you obviously feel that support and everything like that. But that one's definitely the most special, to be able to do that for the program and the university. And
then after your 4 years, you went undrafted but signed with the White Sox. Spent a few years in the Arizona Fall League, the Pioneer League. What was playing in the minor leagues like? Is it as much of a grind as everyone says it is?
No, it is not. It is not as much of a grind. You're playing a sport for your job, but that is one thing that you do realize pretty quickly. It is a job. It's a profession. It's something I felt like VCU equipped me to do really well. I think that's something that they don't prepare you for, is that you are, pretty much on your own there. Obviously, you got people, influencing you and trying to help, but if you don't go in there with a great background on how to prepare yourself and how to get ready to compete at a high level, you can fall behind pretty quickly. I didn't think it was as big of a grind because I thought, you're doing something pretty cool and pretty special. You're looking up and throwing a baseball and getting paid to do it. So I thought that was pretty cool. But it was just such an unbelievable experience. The people that I got to be around, the people that I got to meet, getting to see baseball played at the highest level in the world, it was something pretty special.
How did those experiences of just, you talk about it, transitioning from something that you do as a student athlete to being a full-time job now, how did that impact you as a person, you as a player, and now as a coach?
Yeah, that's a great question. The student athlete piece, I thought, taught you a lot of things that were applicable for you to go have success at that level. Now, obviously, talent and, it's competitive. It's a job, it's a profession, it's cutthroat. And, that piece of it was different. It took, some adjustment to that. Ultimately what I thought it taught me, though, was that, if you go in there with a great process and a foundation, you're giving yourself a chance to continue to get better. And I thought that VCU prepared me really, really well. And then talking to other guys, that some of our alum that are in pro ball, and talking to guys while I was with the White Sox organization that maybe didn't feel like they were as prepared. I feel like that is, a lot of credit to the university, Coach Stifler at the time, for getting us to show that, it's not about getting to pro ball, it's about getting to pro ball and being successful. But then I think from the coaching side, getting to look back on it now, is we're trying to do that, on the other side for our players, getting there and you want to get there and become a big leaguer. That's ultimately why you're there. You're not just there to take part in the minors. You want to become a big leaguer. So I think it created a lot of, for me, a lot of perspective, getting to go through it and then being on the coaching side now.
So this next thing I want to talk about is kind of a two-part question. You transitioned to coaching immediately after you were done playing in 2021. But also it was during the pandemic, obviously, and I talk about on this show a lot how the pandemic is not a unique experience in that everybody around the world has experienced the COVID-19 pandemic, but we all experienced it in a different way. So how did that kind of impact your transition from being a player to being a coach?
Yeah, I always knew I wanted to coach first off. So whenever, I felt like my playing career was over and I was at peace with that, I knew I wanted to go into college coaching right away. So I had probably had a smoother transition than a lot of other people may have had during that time. And It was weird. I can tell you that. Getting into college coaching, I kind of had an idea of what it was like, and then being thrown into, it's obviously a lot different. You're learning stuff behind the scenes every single day, and then you throw COVID on top of that and all the different policies and things to that nature. It was definitely difficult, but I thought it created an even better perspective for me as a coach of how much actually goes into it behind the scenes. And if it's not just baseball, as much as we all want it to be, it's not just baseball. There's so many different layers to it. And I thought that, me going at a unique time and during COVID probably did a lot of good for me because, one of the biggest pieces I think about, being a college baseball coach is you got to be creative. Right. And, we had to be creative during COVID, and watching a lot of really high-level coaches get creative, continue to put our student athletes first, try to get them to become better baseball players, obviously trying to keep them safe and healthy and follow all the guidelines. It was a very unique process that I felt like really helped me, probably become a lot more mature, help me grow and, kind of learn a lot of different things I maybe not have learned for another 10 years down the line, but I learned them in my first year. So it was kind of one of those things that, like you said, everybody went through COVID-19. Everybody's got stories during that time. I think I was very fortunate for mine ended up being for the better for my career.
You also mentioned that you always knew that you wanted to be a coach. Was there a specific person or a time that you remember flipping a switch, like, my baseball career playing won't last forever, I need to have a plan for after this? Mm-hmm. Do you remember sort of when that click switched? Yeah,
it started out probably at a pretty young age. In college, I kind of had a moment where I was like, I don't think I'm going to work behind a desk ever. So when you have that moment, you start realizing, okay, well, what can I do that's not behind a desk? I had a lot of admiration for Coach Stifler, previous head coach here. My dad had coaching experience. My dad had always been involved in sports and played sports at a high level. So it was just kind of a part of me and what I wanted to do. And then, I think there's a moment in your playing career where you start to realize, I feel like I started to really learn about baseball, learn about the pitching side, obviously kind of what I came up through as a pitching coach. And I felt like I may not be able to do it as a player, but I feel like I can teach guys how to do this a lot better than maybe I could do as a player. So then that kind of created the passion for it. Like, okay, I want to go chase this. But I always knew I wanted to be a head coach. I always wanted to lead. I always wanted to be the guy out in front. I think it was my background. I played quarterback in high school, as a pitcher, the ball's in your hand. Right. I always wanted the opportunity to lead. So I think that kind of all shaped, my future moving forward. But, wanting to coach was a lot of different things and a lot of different people that were around me at the right times that, influenced me wanting to do it as a career path.
So you take us to our next point here. After spending time FIU, Monmouth, VCU, you were named the head coach at your alma mater, July 22nd, 2024. First, take me through when you decided to go to coaching in 2021,
yep.
And then 2024, the summer, when you got this job. What were those 3 or 4 years like?
Yeah, I don't know if, looking back on it, I would have thought this would have happened at this point. I was hoping it was going to happen at some point, but I think that's the beauty about life is you never know when it's going to happen. You just try to continue to prepare yourself for that opportunity. I went to Monmouth University as a pitching coach, got an unbelievable opportunity with Coach Ehalt there, who's a legend in college baseball, taught me so many different things. And then blink of an eye, ended up in Miami, Florida with Coach Witten, who used to be the recruiting coordinator and the offensive coach here at VCU. That was an unbelievable experience, getting to see baseball in a different area. I think that was huge for me long term, getting to recruit a different part of the country. But obviously, seeing a different program is important, I think. I had a lot of comfort with VCU and seeing the winning culture, but going to different places and trying to put your spin on there, I think was cool. And then obviously getting the opportunity to come back was something that was always important to me because when I started my coaching career here, I was more behind the scenes, and getting to come back and be the pitching coach and kind of run the show was important. And then, this summer when it happened, there's a lot of turnover, obviously, with college baseball right now. Right. And, I didn't kind of suspect it to happen, but I think that's the beauty of it is you never know. And then, I think for me it was about wanting to be somewhere. And I'd been places in the past and you're taking jobs, you're going to do things. I knew I wanted to be at VCU, and I knew I wanted to be here. I wanted to lead the program. I have a lot of pride and admiration for this place and for the tradition and the history and the people that have come before me. And looking up at it, it was just kind of the perfect, circumstance of events for myself and my career. And I was extremely fortunate to obviously have this happen. I always say that, I was very fortunate to take over a program with great tradition, great history. A lot of people don't get that fortune. So I'm very thankful that every single day I get to come here and work.
When Ed McLaughlin called you in July and told you would be the next head coach of VCU, where were you and what was your reaction?
I was in my apartment. I was probably panicking a little bit still because obviously there's a lot of uncertainty of what's going to move forward. But just immediately, was a little bit emotional at first. I was with my girlfriend. Obviously extremely exciting, and then my phone started blowing up right away. Tried to enjoy that first day, but then that next day it was how many phone calls can I make? I was obviously trying to keep the guys on our roster, talking to them, talking to guys in the portal, junior college players, talking to, a couple guys that I wanted to be our assistant coaches. So obviously doing all of that, it was a pretty big whirlwind of events and emotions right away, but I was just so thankful, for the opportunity. I've known, Ed McLaughlin for a long time. He's a guy that's meant a lot to me, and this whole athletic department has meant a lot to me. So for it to kind of come full circle was something, very special for me.
And here's where the presenting theme of our show comes in. This is where you're unique in college baseball, the youngest coach in Division I college baseball. So I want to take a broader sort of metaphorical approach to it. How important was it for you and your team to be able to succeed, for you being able to surround yourself with the right people in order to have success in this new position?
Yeah, I think you're always just shaped by the people you're around, right? Like I've been very fortunate to be around some very good baseball minds, just very good people that have helped me lead this way. Starting with, Coach Stifler, all the different people I've worked for, after that, and learning so much. It's one thing I've always tried to do is be a sponge and, kind of take my spin on everything is, when I watch them work, I would always think, how would I do this if I was in this position? And I think that really has kind of shaped me and kind of led me to this opportunity. And I'm not naive to think that I wasn't around the right people at the right time. Mm-hmm. I think that goes a lot into the coaching world. But I think it was, for me, I always kind of shaped it back to my playing days. Getting to professional baseball, I wanted to be successful when I got to professional baseball. It was the same thing when I became a head coach. I didn't want to just become a head coach. I wanted to be a successful head coach, and that's kind of why I shaped it. And it starts with the staff that you build and getting those people around you, because I've been on the other side of it where I've been an assistant, and I think the assistants completely go unseen, and they do so much for our program. The recruiting side, they're in the weeds every day with our players, getting them better. And I'm very fortunate where I think I got three of the best assistants in the country that I get to call friends and work with them every single day, and I'm very fortunate for that.
Since arriving in this room, the head coach's office over the summer, has there been a few things that are specifically surprising to you or a challenge you didn't expect when you took this job?
Yeah, less baseball, which has been, tough, but I look at it from the perspective, like I said, I got great assistants, and, sometimes I got to do some things, but I get to let them work and take some stuff off their plate. And that's something I'm willing to do every single day because, they put so much time and effort into this. They miss out on so many things, and we all do as coaches, and we know that when we sign up for this profession. But, I want to make sure that they're getting to maximize our student-athlete experience for our guys. I want them to work. Kids came here to get better at baseball. There's no secret behind that. They came here to win a championship and get better at baseball, and our job as coaches to provide that every single day. And I don't get any fun phone calls anymore. Usually there's something wrong, but that's a part of the job. And but I'm very thankful for what I get to do. But I would definitely say a little bit less baseball. Not as many fun phone calls. But at the end of the day, I get to be around a great group of guys, and we've got a great team. We have so many new faces, 27 newcomers this year. And it's just very exciting to continue to get to know the roster, get to know these guys, and I can't wait to watch them have success here in a couple weeks.
27 newcomers, as you mentioned. First year for you as a head coach. It'll be a learning process for everybody. Do you have some individual or team goals that you want to share coming off a conference championship?
Yeah, we want to win another one. That's number one. That's always been what VCU's been about, is winning championships. Now it starts with a great process. We got to have a great process every single day. I was really excited in the fall to watch 27 new guys come into this program. be extremely excited about being here, love this university, and then just jump all in into what we were trying to accomplish and do. And that was something important to me, and I talked about it with our roster, during the summer, during the transition, was that, we weren't punting on this first year because, things kind of happened late. We were going to build a roster that we wanted to win a championship, because when you're at the top, someone's going to knock you off. That's how I view it. And there's too much tradition, too much history in this program for me to just sit back and say, oh, we'll try to build it the next year. It was immediately, hey, we're going out and going to try to, without compromising what we're looking for, go find the best roster that we possibly can and build it. And we were fortunate to keep some really, cool people in our program that have done special things here already. We got guys in our locker room with 3 championship rings already. And, how many programs in the country can say that? So, but yeah, we want to win a championship and get back to the NCAAs and get a run at it.
All right, Coach, a couple quick ones before we let you go back your day.
Yep.
First one, you wore number 20 as a player. Was there any significance to why you wore that?
There was zero significance to that. It was the number I was given, and I did not ask questions.
Who was your favorite athlete growing up?
Ooh. As a kid, it was always my dad. My dad was a really good athlete. My dad played football and baseball in college. He was an All-American in both. He was a much better athlete, if you ask anybody from my hometown. But then I was always a Pittsburgh sports fan. So, anybody on the Steelers, I was a diehard Steelers fan. And then for the Pirates, I really like Garrett Cole, when he was young and up and coming. And then right now I'm a big Paul Skeens fan. Awesome. I'm hoping he, gets the Pirates on track here.
That's awesome. What's your favorite ballpark you've ever played in?
Favorite ballpark I ever played in? I really, really enjoyed playing at Florida State my junior year on opening weekend. That was a really special experience. They had a great team. To watch that atmosphere. I think they're one of the kind of the blue bloods of college baseball when you're talking about fan experience and program, history and tradition, and that was really cool.
Real quick, while we're on the topic of ballparks, how excited are you for Carmex Park? I'm
extremely excited for that. I'm more excited just for the city of Richmond, than anything. The Flying Squirrels and our partnership and relationship is just something that it embodies, Richmond baseball, the whole community. But I'm just really excited for, the fan experience that's going to provide. They get such an unbelievable turnout for the Diamond, and there's so much history at the Diamond, but a new face, on Richmond baseball is going to be extremely exciting. And I'm excited for our guys the first day they get to walk in there and see it. I can't wait to see the look on their faces, and probably my look as well.
The renderings of that place are sweet.
Yes, they are.
Best place to eat in Richmond?
Ooh. I would say I'm a big fan of the Tobacco Company.
Okay.
I really like, a good steak, and I think it's a really cool atmosphere there, so I really like going there.
That's really good. Say they made a movie about your life or about the 2015 season or any number of other things. Who would you want to play you? Anyone in the world?
I would say someone that maybe could look like me from a hair standpoint, maybe like a Bradley Cooper.
Okay.
He's much better looking than me. But maybe him. And then favorite actor, I don't know if he would portray me perfectly, it would be Denzel Washington.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a huge Denzel Washington fan. Every movie he's in is gold. But yeah, I would say one of those two guys.
That's awesome. And we'll end it with this. The same question we ask every person that comes on this show. It can be about baseball, it can be about coaching, it can be about life.
Yep.
What is one great piece of advice that someone has given you and you would like to share with the world?
Great piece of advice. We have a funny quote that we've always said, kind of around the baseball circle I've been around is, good teams win and bad teams have meetings. So that we've always kind of laughed around that. I think that's some good advice. But the other one too that I think is more just a perspective is that, working hard is a precedent. Like that's just the basics of what you do. And I think it's something I always preach to guys, like working hard is just required. It's all the little things you put on top of that. And I think that's the separator when you're looking at really good organizations, really good programs, really good players, really good people is, working hard is just something you have to do. It's all the little things on top of that. And that's something I've always tried to embody, as a player and then as a coach and what I'm trying to, get our team to achieve.
That's awesome. Sean Thompson, youngest coach in Division I baseball. Really appreciate you taking the time to come on Unique Pathways presented by H3 Sports. Appreciate all that VCU has done for H3 Sports throughout the years. Really impactful, and I love what you said at the beginning about kind of the themes intertwining. So we're wishing you the best of luck this season, and once again, appreciate you coming on the show.
Absolutely, Ben. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. All right, I hope you enjoyed my conversation and interview with the head coach of VCU Baseball, Sean Thompson. Once again, really appreciate him for giving me some of his time in the busy schedule. Now head coach at VCU for the Rams, looking to defend their conference title from last season. Wishing them the best of luck and wishing him the best of luck in year one as head coach. Thanks to everybody for listening and watching this episode. It was a lot of fun to make and produce, and I hope you enjoyed it. Enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. Just a reminder for podcast listeners to subscribe, follow, rate, review. Give us 5 stars if you are so inclined on your preferred podcast platform. And if you're on YouTube, hit that like button, leave us a comment, and hit the big red subscribe button. Stay tuned. Every week we'll have a new for you on this very channel, so that'll be a big thing. Just stay in tune with everything that we have going on down the line. Once again, thanks so much for watching, and thanks to Coach Sean Thompson for taking some time with me to talk on the Unique Pathways podcast. For Ben Rekosh, this has been the Unique Pathways podcast. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next week.
Unique Pathways is sponsored by Piedmont Realty Holdings, building better together. Bellaterra Landscaping and Hardscaping Services. ECS Prosthetics, we come to you. Jeff Burton Consulting, charting your path to a successful outcome. Major League Mindset, results on and off the field. Blue Sky Property Management, own your experience. BSN Sports, the heart of the game.